Welcome, beloved children, into the living presence of Jesus, where life is not merely endured but gently shepherded, where every breath is held in care and every step is guided by love that does not falter, because living with Jesus is not about distant devotion or rigid ritual, but about daily relationship, tender companionship, and unwavering affection poured out from a heart that knows you completely and loves you eternally. For he calls you not servants bound by fear, but children drawn close by grace. And from the very beginning, his desire has been to dwell with you, to walk beside you as he once walked with his disciples along dusty roads, sharing bread, listening to hearts, and teaching through compassion more than command, because Jesus is the embodiment of God's care made visible, love made touchable, mercy made personal. And when you live with him, you discover that you are never unseen, never unheard, and never forgotten. For he watches over you with the attentiveness of a shepherd who knows each sheep by name, who notices when one is weary, when one is hurting, when one has wandered too far in confusion or fear, and instead of condemnation, he responds with pursuit, lifting you onto his shoulders, rejoicing not in your perfection but in your return, because his care is not fragile or conditional, but steadfast and patient, meeting you in the morning with new mercies and surrounding you at night with peace that quiets anxious thoughts. And living with Jesus means learning to trust that even in moments of discipline there is love, even in correction there is kindness, because whom he loves he shapes, not to control but to protect, not to diminish but to help you grow into who you were created to be. And his affection is not distant or restrained, for he welcomed children into his arms when others pushed them away, blessing them openly, affirming their worth, and declaring that the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these, reminding you that innocence, humility, and trust are treasures in his eyes, and when you stumble, he does not turn away but kneels beside you, washes your feet like he did for his disciples, showing that true greatness is found in serving, and true love is proven through sacrifice. And living with Jesus means resting in the truth that you do not have to earn his attention, for he already delights in you, already knows the number of hairs on your head, already understands the burdens you struggle to explain, and his love reaches into the ordinary rhythms of your life, into your work, your rest, your laughter, and your tears, transforming mundane moments into sacred encounters, because he is present, not only in miracles but in stillness, not only in answered prayers but in quiet endurance, teaching you that his care is constant even when circumstances change, and his affection remains even when emotions fluctuate. And as you walk with him, you begin to recognize his voice, gentle yet firm, comforting yet clarifying, guiding you away from harm and toward life, reminding you that you were never meant to carry the weight of the world alone, because he invites you to cast your cares upon him, promising rest for your soul. And living with Jesus also means learning how to love as you are loved, how to forgive as you have been forgiven, how to show compassion because you have received compassion. For his care is not meant to stop with you but to flow through you, shaping hearts, healing relationships, and restoring hope wherever it touches. And even when you feel weak, uncertain, or unworthy, his affection does not diminish, because he does not measure you by your failures, but by his sacrifice, by the cross where love was fully revealed, proving that nothing, not fear, not shame, not death itself, could separate you from his heart. And so living with Jesus becomes a journey of growing trust, where you learn that his timing is purposeful, his guidance reliable, and his promises faithful. And though storms may arise, you discover that his presence within the boat brings peace greater than the waves. And as children under his care, you are invited to live not in fear of the future, but in confidence of his goodness, knowing that he goes before you, walks beside you, and dwells within you. And this is the welcome he offers to all who come, an open invitation into a life anchored in love, nurtured by grace, sustained by hope, and forever held in the compassionate, faithful, and unchanging care of Jesus, who calls you his own and delights in walking with you every step of the way. Beloved one, steady your heart and ready your spirit, for tonight is not like other nights, and what is approaching you has been set in motion long before you were aware of it, long before your questions formed, long before your tears fell in silence, because I am the one who speaks with intention and power, and not a single word I release is empty or accidental, for my voice carries life. My declarations carry fulfillment, and what I have spoken concerning you is already alive, already moving, already unfolding beyond what your eyes can yet perceive. And though you have waded through seasons that felt endless, wrestled with uncertainty that tested your faith, and endured moments where hope felt thin and fragile, I now say to you, pause, breathe, and watch. For stillness before me is not inactivity but trust, and in that trust you will witness deliverance rising in ways you did not expect. For tonight my hand is shifting realities, rearranging circumstances, aligning moments, dismantling limitations, loosening bonds that have held you longer than they should have, and opening passages that no resistance, no opposition, no human force can seal again. And though the noise of the world has been loud and relentless, I urge you not to let the distractions of the day blind you to the sacred movement of the night, because in quiet places, in unseen spaces, in moments where nothing appears to be happening, I am working with precision and care, dispatching help you cannot see, leveling obstacles that once towered over you, lifting valleys of despair into places of strength and vision, causing what seemed immovable to bow under my authority, for the struggle may have been prolonged, but the outcome has never been in question. Because victory has always belonged to me, and I gladly share it with those who lean on me rather than their own understanding, so do not fear the subtle shift you sense in the atmosphere around you, for it is not chaos but change, not confusion but destiny stirring awake, not loss but answered prayers moving into alignment. And before your hands touch the manifestation, your spirit will recognize it. Before your eyes confirm it, your heart will know it, because I place that awareness within you myself, marking this moment beyond time as a turning point, a hinge upon which your journey pivots, and what unfolds from here will not only astonish you but will stand as testimony to those who watch your life unfold. For what you interpreted as delay was careful preparation, what you felt as abandonment was attentive remembrance, and every tear you shed, every sigh you released, every unspoken ache you carried was gathered, acknowledged, and held with care, because I do not forget, I do not deceive, and I do not reverse what I have promised, for what I declared over you is sealed beyond human interference, recorded in heaven, protected by my sovereignty, and unfolding according to perfect timing. And tonight I will draw near to you in ways unfamiliar, yet unmistakable, speaking with clarity that cuts through confusion, revealing truth through stillness, dreams, insight, and gentle understanding, lifting the haze that clouded your perception, opening your heart to wisdom hidden from pride, but freely given to those who trust like children. So release your need to control the outcome and your anxiety over the process, and simply open yourself in reverence and expectancy, for I see the weight you carry, the questions that linger, the longings you keep hidden, and I know you fully, for I shaped you intentionally, know every detail of your being, and overlook nothing that concerns you. And tonight I come not with accusation, but with compassion, not with judgment, but with reassurance, surrounding you with peace that steadies your soul, inviting you to release burdens you were never meant to carry, because when you awaken after this night, something within you will be different, lighter, clearer, stronger, for this night is sacred, a deliberate meeting between you and me, where heaven leans close and creation responds, because you are called into deeper waters, deeper trust, deeper understanding, and the surface no longer satisfies what you were designed for you were created for depth, for glory, for transformation, and none of the paths you walked were wasted, none of the pain meaningless, none of the detours accidental, because every trial refined you, every heartbreak softened you, every failure made space for grace, and now I breathe life into all of it, speaking renewal over dreams you buried, hope where discouragement settled, strength where weariness took hold, light where shadows lingered, reminding you that I am not distant, not silent, not absent, but present, personal, and faithful, bound to you by covenant rooted not in your perfection, but in my unchanging love, and nothing can halt what I am releasing into your life. No curse can cancel my blessing, no opposition can stand where I have already declared triumph. For though challenges arose, they will not prevail, though voices accused, they will be silenced, because I stand as your defender, your covering, your refuge, and this night marks a clear division between what was and what will be, ushering you into greater authority, deeper intimacy, and fresh empowerment that does not come from your strength but from my Spirit, and what I am pouring out cannot be contained by old limitations, requiring you to expand, to stretch, to embrace joy that surprises you, because what comes next cannot be measured by what came before, for I am initiating something new, even in places that felt barren, even where hope seemed dry, creating pathways where none appeared and rivers where drought ruled, exceeding expectations and answering prayers beyond their original scope, because my generosity does not mimic the world's restraint, but overflows with abundance, favor, restoration, healing, reconciliation, and renewal, transforming what seemed beyond repair into something entirely new, lifting heaviness, restoring laughter, reviving joy, honoring faithfulness that went unseen, and rewarding devotion that persisted through pain, calling you to release fear of people, fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, because I hold time itself, and your future rests secure in my care. And though you may not feel me in every moment, I am guiding every step, lighting your path, providing what you need for today while preparing what you will need for tomorrow, for I do not abandon what I begin, and I will complete what I started in you, so expect moments that shift everything, conversations that change direction, opportunities that open suddenly, peace that settles deeply, clarity that replaces confusion, because I am still the one who transforms stories, who surprises the weary with joy, the doubtful with certainty, the broken with restoration, the overlooked with purpose, and just as I have done throughout history, turning impossibility into testimony, scarcity into abundance, weakness into strength. I am doing again now for you, because this moment has your name on it. This chapter is being written with intention. And tonight is not merely a promise, but the beginning of fulfillment. So be ready, not with striving, but with trust, not with fear, but with expectancy, for what I reveal next will remind you who I am and who you are becoming. And when you look back, you will know that this was the night everything shifted, the night destiny stirred, the night you realized I had been closer than you ever imagined, and the night you stepped into what had been prepared for you all along. Beloved, hear these words as if spoken gently by Jesus himself, with the tone of grace, truth, and authority that calms storms and awakens faith, for tonight is not an ordinary moment, but a sacred invitation, a living reminder that the kingdom of God is near, active, and unfolding in your life even now. And as Jesus taught, those who have ears to hear must listen, not only with the mind, but with the heart. Because what is happening is not merely seen with natural eyes, but discerned in the Spirit. And he says to you, do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. For what you have prayed for in secret, what you have longed for in silence, and what you feared might never come, has not been overlooked by the Father who sees in secret and rewards openly. And just as Jesus assured his disciples that not even a sparrow falls to the ground without the Father's care, so too your life, your tears, your waiting, and your questions have been held with divine attention, for you are of great value, and the season you are entering is not born from chance but from promise. Because Jesus never spoke empty words, every teaching, every blessing, every declaration carried power to transform. And he speaks now with that same authority, reminding you that the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who trust like children, who hunger and thirst for righteousness, who remain meek when the world demands striving, and who endure with faith when answers seem delayed. And he says, blessed are you who have mourned, for you shall be comforted. Blessed are you who have waited, for you shall see the faithfulness of God, because the waiting has not weakened you but refined you, shaping humility, compassion, and perseverance within you. Much like the seed that must remain hidden in the soil before it rises, and tonight, as Jesus often withdrew to quiet places to pray and commune with the Father, he invites you into that same stillness, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening beneath the surface. For the Father is working even when you cannot see it, just as Jesus said, my Father is always at his work, and I too am working. And the movement of heaven does not require noise to be powerful, for the greatest miracles often begin in silence, where faith takes root and trust deepens, and he reminds you that the doors opening before you are not opened by human strength, but by divine authority, echoing his words, "I am the door. Whoever enters through me will be saved, and no force can shut what God has ordained. No fear can cancel what love has initiated, and no past mistake can outweigh the grace poured out through the cross, because Jesus did not come to condemn the world, but to save it, to restore what was broken, to heal what was wounded, and to call the weary into rest." And he says to you now, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not a shallow rest that avoids reality, but a deep rest that anchors your soul in truth, reminding you that you do not carry your future alone, for the Good Shepherd goes before you, preparing the way, guarding you even through valleys where shadows once frightened you. And tonight marks a shift, a moment of alignment where the teachings of Jesus move from Scripture into lived experience, where faith is no longer theoretical but embodied, because he taught that faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains, and you have carried that seed through doubt, through waiting, through questions, and now the ground is ready for growth, for Jesus never wastes suffering, just as he turned the cross, an instrument of death, into the doorway of resurrection, and he reminds you that what felt like delay was not denial but divine preparation, shaping you to carry the blessing without losing your peace, teaching you dependence on God rather than control. For he taught his disciples not to worry about tomorrow, saying, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." And tonight is a living testimony of that truth, because provision, clarity, healing, and favor are not being chased by you but released toward you, as blessings flow not from striving but from abiding, from remaining connected to the vine. For apart from him you can do nothing, but in him all things are possible, and Jesus speaks life over dreams you thought were buried, just as he stood before Lazarus' tomb and declared, "Lazarus, come forth," proving that even what seems dead responds to his voice. And so hope rises again, strength returns to weary places, and light pushes back shadows, because he is the light of the world. And whoever follows him will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And tonight that light illuminates your path, bringing understanding where confusion lingered, peace where anxiety ruled, and courage where fear once whispered lies, reminding you that you are not forgotten, not overlooked, and not alone, for Jesus promised, "I am with you always, even to the end of the age," and his presence is not earned by perfection, but received through grace, the same grace that healed the sick, welcomed the outcast, restored the broken, and forgave the sinner. And he speaks blessing over you as one who has endured, saying, "Your faith has carried you further than you realize, because every tear you shed in prayer was seen. Every act of obedience done quietly was noted, and every moment you chose trust over despair planted seeds of future testimony." And as Jesus often surprised those who encountered him, turning water into wine, scarcity into abundance, fear into boldness, he reminds you that divine surprises are often born where human expectation ends, for the Father delights in giving good gifts to his children. And tonight you are invited to receive not only answers but transformation, not only blessings but deeper intimacy, stepping into a renewed understanding of who you are in him, a beloved child, chosen, forgiven, restored, and empowered, called not merely to survive but to live abundantly. As Jesus promised, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." And as you surrender control and open your heart, you will sense the nearness of heaven, the quiet assurance that the same Jesus who calmed the sea, fed the multitudes, healed the blind, and rose from the grave is actively involved in your story, guiding each step, strengthening your faith, and leading you into a future anchored in hope, because blessed are you who trust without seeing. Blessed are you who endure with faith. Blessed are you who receive with gratitude, for tonight is not the end of your journey, but the unfolding of a promise, a reminder that the teachings of Jesus are not distant ideals but living truth, and his blessings are not limited by time, circumstance, or weakness, but flow freely to those who believe, rest, and follow him, knowing that what he has begun in you, he is faithful to complete.